What's up, everyone? So, right now I want to talk about the experience we have of self, what self is, how it arises, and what it's not. So, all of us have a conditioned natural experience that there is a me. We could say at the simplest level, that is the sense of self, is what I am, who I am. This is a conditioned belief. This is not just heady, although there's definitely a heady conceptual component to the sense of self. Those concepts and those narratives about who and what we are then get projected onto our world, onto our experience. It all has this reference point of the self. And this becomes a lived, visceral, somatic experience of what I experience myself to be. So a lot of the time, if I'm going to say that the sense of self, the self, is empty, it's not really real. People a lot of the time are like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's not real? I feel it. I feel it. I know it. So in Buddhism, this is where there's a distinction between what appears to us and how things really are. So the way that things appear are dependent on the narratives, the stories, the concepts that I hold, my interpretations of experience. And those interpretations are fluid. We can have many, if not infinite, interpretations of raw experience. And then those interpretations are, again, projected and layered onto experience. So when we understand this fact that experience is always interpreted by the mind experiencing it, and that there are infinite possibilities for interpretation, um, we recognize in Buddhism what's called the emptiness of any fixed, objective reality. And that includes the reality of the self that is the focal point of our lives, the self that is the focal point of our pain, suffering, feelings of lack, inferiority, feelings of unlovability, feelings of fear, is centered around this self, this separate, isolated self. And that experience is empty. There's nothing solid for this sense of self to stand on. What is it? Is it this body that makes the self? Is that what I am? You could say if I got my arms chopped off, I'm not less of me. I'm just me with two less arms. So if we thought the body was the self, we would be less us with two less arms. So that's one example. Is the mind what I am? Are my thoughts me? That's easily deconstructed. We can just look at our day and say, hey, I started off having great, really optimistic thoughts about myself. And then the day went out, took its course. Someone cut me off in traffic and my boss told me that I'm getting let go. And all of a sudden I feel like I'm just a piece of garbage. I'm nothing. Everyone's doing better than me. Which way are you really? It's all wishy-washy. And it depends on certain conditions in the mind. When I say it, I mean the sense of self. And it is just that. It's a sense. It's just like smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, feeling. The sense of self is a combination of all of those things. Interpreting senses, um, recognizing narratives that are focused around self and the emptiness of all of them. In the Buddhist sense, you could say that there is sights, colors, light, there's sensations, there's touch, there's smell, there's noises, there's thoughts in the mind, feelings in the body. But you actually cannot say that there is a feeler. That's an assumption. There are things arising, but the feeler doesn't have to exist, actually. We construct a world where there has to be a feeler, there has to be a thinker, there has to be a me. Why? And what happens if we take this step into groundlessness, into actually freedom? Freedom from rigid, self views. Because no matter what view you have about yourself, it's made up. It's smoke and mirrors. It's concepts layered onto experience. And this can be really, really, really useful to know. I mean, it is really useful to know. Let's just say we have unskillful self perceptions. I'm a loser. Everyone else is doing better than me. No one will love me. I'm going to die alone. That hurts. And yeah, it sucks. And it's a shitty way to experience ourselves. There's a lot of freedom that comes when we recognize that those perspectives are empty, empty, empty. There's nothing actually there to prove that. Empty narratives that we build these stories off of, that we build these experiences of self off of. And it breaks my heart to see some people really trapped in that their whole lives, living a story, living a myth of tragedy. And, at a very deep, zoomed out level, sure, that's fine. We're in a timeless place. There will be more lives to live. But from my perspective, having experienced depression and really tough self concepts, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. It is fucking raw, awful. It's a certain flavor of life that me personally, I didn't want to live in forever. And that's where emptiness is extremely pragmatic, to really question, how do I know I'm like that? How do I know I'm actually a loser? Compared to who? And compared to what cultural values? Oh, I don't have a ton of money. I don't drive a Mercedes. Does that mean I'm a loser? Is that how we define winner and loser? That's a culturally conditioned narrative. It doesn't mean anything inherently. That's an empty narrative. So negative self views are empty, workable. We can deconstruct them. And also positive self views, although they might feel better, definitely, than being a loser, is being a winner. I'm definitely a winner. That's what I am. So this again is a positive self view. And if we get trapped in identifying with that view, that I'm a winner, for instance, or I'm better than everyone, or look at me, I'm fucking whatever. Insert any kind of positive, solidified self view. At first, it feels good, but as we really become more aware of how it actually feels, any self view that has been solidified is a cage. It keeps us trapped. Keeps us trapped in a limited identity. Because, hey, if you're a winner all the time, no matter what, you're not going to feel like a winner 100% of the time. It's not going to happen. If you think that you're better than everyone else, something's going to come around and prove otherwise. Yeah, there's more famous people, more rich people, people with more, diverse experiences, people with more freedom, people more enlightened, whatever. And eventually you'll realize any way that I define myself is a cage. Empty, empty, empty. There's no need to build those cages. And when we recognize the real radicality of emptiness and the depth that it goes, when everything has turned to liquid, any perception of self, that's the focus of this talk, when any perception of self has turned to liquid, we can try on different masks, knowing full well that they are masks. We can feel into what it's like to be a winner, be a loser. I mean, it's a flavor I'm not that into personally, but it's an option. We can also feel into what's it like to be of service. What's it like to feel divine, to recognize the sacredness in this form, in this body, this mind, who thinks these thoughts, who sees through my eyes, tapping into divinity, senses of sacredness, recognizing that too is empty, empty, empty. Here we're starting to get to a really deep existential level of freedom. where any self view, any view of world too, any view of spirituality is empty, empty, empty. And if you're this deep in the video, I think you probably have at least an inclination about the depth, the power, the radicality of this teaching. Recognizing that everything, when we really question it, doesn't hold weight. It's dependent on narratives, views, perspectives, beliefs, assumptions. Then if we inquire into those beliefs, assumptions, we realize it's all smoke and mirrors. So this is, again, more of a meta level of spirituality and understanding of the mind that gives us supreme agency, us, right here and now, to choose what world I inhabit, to choose what self I inhabit, what sense of self I inhabit. And again, it starts conceptually. Yes, I think that's, for me, the easiest doorway in is the conceptual. And then that ripples into everything that we are, everything that we feel changes. For instance, when I'm cultivating divinity actively, because it's a practice, when I'm practicing sensing with soul, sacredness, when I'm out in the woods, for instance, and the wind hits my face and the breeze goes through the trees, it's not just the breeze going through the trees. Something is speaking, and I'm all ears. And it becomes very deep and meaningful, actually. And that meaningfulness is something that is lacking in our society. It has not been taught. We don't understand how it works, but they are the deepest, most resonant, you could say, most important moments of our lives is when that deep sense of meaningfulness is present. And that is a cultivatable experience. We can have more of that, and that juiciness enriches the being, it enriches the soul. It gives us purpose, drive, energy, love. So emptiness is not some nihilistic void. If you take that leap of emptiness, which I hope that you do, I hope this talk inspires you to really explore these ideas. If you take that leap, it's not a nihilistic void, meaning some meaningless thing. It's actually the polar opposite of that. It is radically beautiful. This, empty, empty, empty. Somehow it's here. Miracle. And it opens up infinite possibilities. And I mean infinite. The only limit is the one that you set on what is real. Because no matter what story you hold, it'll be equally as real as any other. Regardless of the culturally conditioned stories with the most momentum, materialism, scientism, reducing reality to fit into those narrow molds, that's an empty story. And what happens when we really see that? That maybe this place is not material in the way that we think that it is. Maybe it's inherently immaterial. Maybe consciousness is primary, not matter. How does that change things? How does that change how we understand intention? How we understand the impact of our view, the impact of our narratives in constructing experience. And I know full well that we can make it anything we want, so why not make it heaven on earth? Heaven is what you make it. Heaven is what you make it. And the deepest parts of our being want to express something. It wants to create and live worlds, new worlds. Again, soul, what we are, connected directly to divinity. That divinity is trying to live a life through us, through our eyes. And we're learning that we can create worlds from the inside out. And what do you want to make? So, I mean, that kind of went a little off, but the focus of this talk, again, is on self, our experience of self, our sense of self. Conceptual, somatic, emotional. It's all workable. And just so you know, so my sense of self, I had a difficult childhood, like, everyone, basically. But I was very reserved, had a lot of self hate, feelings of lack, really internalized lack. And I was scared to connect, scared to relate. Didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I went through these depressions where I just couldn't connect. I was so dissociated, anxious. I couldn't, like, um, hold a conversation. I couldn't even, I would hear, if people would talk to me, I wouldn't even hear what they said. They'd be like, and I'm saying that to say that the person that you see right now is not who I've always been. This understanding of emptiness is deeply transformative. It can be scary too, to step into that groundlessness, to let go of all the solidity that we thought we needed to hold on to. But we don't need to hold on to it. We can open to the flow of groundlessness, radical groundlessness, and metaphorically let the eyes adjust to that light, the light of reality, and realize there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing. Except the illusions up in here. So, yeah. Thanks for watching.